Hi, everybody. It's Peter Schiff. It is Thursday, December 17th, 2009. Well, yesterday, Time Magazine came out with its choice for Person of the Year, and they actually selected Ben Bernanke. Now, apparently, they also considered such worthy candidates as Timothy Geithner and Barack Obama, but they ended up going with Ben Bernanke. Now, I know there is a precedent of giving out Person of the Year to people who do great harm and great evil as opposed to great good. I mean, they've given Person of the Year to Adolf Hitler, to Joseph Stalin. Now, I'm not suggesting that Ben Bernanke is a mass murderer. I mean, he may be guilty of murdering the economy and murdering the dollar and things like that, but he's certainly, not evil like Hitler or Stalin. But I think the principle is there, and I think it's wrong. I think we should not honor people who do great harm. We should honor people who do great good. Now, I don't think the guys over at Time Magazine thought that this was similar. I think they actually believed that Ben Bernanke did a great job and deserved to be honored for the job that he did. Now, it's interesting, of course, they never made Alan Greenspan Man of the Year, although Alan Greenspan was knighted by Queen Elizabeth. But the fact that he is even getting Man of the Year, in and of itself, is proof of how lousy he's doing his job as Fed chairman, because the Fed chairman is not supposed to be popular. He's supposed to be the one that imposes discipline, monetary discipline. Take the punch bowl away. We don't want a Fed chairman who's being honored as Man of the Year because we think he saved the economy. And of course, he didn't save the economy. The Time Magazine is crediting him for averting the Great Depression. He's causing the Great Depression. It just hasn't started yet. Or it's too early in the Depression for people to figure out what it is. And unfortunately, because of Ben Bernanke, it's going to be an inflationary depression, and it might even be a hyperinflationary one. Now, I think it's very interesting. If you look at the wording from the Time piece, everything that they wrote about why he deserves it is almost exactly what I would write for why he doesn't deserve it, or why he's not the Person of the Year, but the worst Person of the Year. Let me read a little bit from that story. Professor Bernanke of Princeton was a leading scholar of the Great Depression. He knew how the passive Fed of the 1930s helped create the calamity through its stubborn refusal to expand the money supply and its tragic lack of imagination and experimentation. Experimentation? I mean, here they are, and this is, of course, me talking. Here, Time Magazine is criticizing the Fed of the 30s because they didn't create enough inflation. They didn't print enough money. And, of course, Ben Bernanke's not making that mistake. And let me go on. Chairman Bernanke of Washington was determined not to be the Fed chairman who presided over Depression 2.0. So when turbulence in the U.S. housing market metastasized into the worst global financial crisis in more than 75 years, of course, Time Magazine doesn't mention the Fed's role in creating that financial crisis in the first place, or more specifically, Ben Bernanke's role as co-pilot as he and Alan Greenspan flew this plane into the edge of a cliff. Let me resume the article. He conjured up trillions of new dollars and blasted them into the economy, engineered massive public rescues of failing private companies, ratcheted down interest rates to zero, lent to mutual funds, hedge funds, foreign banks, investment banks, manufacturers, insurers, and other borrowers who never dreamed of receiving federal cash, jump-started stalled credit markets in everything from car loans to corporate paper, revolutionized housing finance with a breathtaking shopping spree of mortgage bonds, blew up the Fed's balance sheet to 3 times its previous size, and generally transformed the state arena of central banking into a stage for desperate improvisation. I'm not making this stuff up. He didn't just reshape U.S. monetary policy. He led an effort to save the world economy. Now, that's the first thing that they said that was wrong. He's not saving anything. He's destroying the American economy. I mean, here they're praising him for this reckless experimentation. This guy is grasping for straws. He's doing all sorts of things that are beyond the legal mission of the Federal Reserve. And of course, they're crediting this action for saving the economy. He didn't spare us from a Great Depression. He has set the stage for a Great Depression. What he spared us from was a necessary recession so that the economy could have purged itself from all the malinvestments that inflicted it because of the stimulus under his predecessor and even under Bernanke. But now all he's done is stimulated us out of a Great Recession into a greater depression or an inflationary depression. We can't give him a reward now. That's kind of like those Wall Street bankers who got paid bonuses on bad trades that ultimately went bad but appeared to be going well in the short run. Time magazine thinks he did such a good job because he's postponed the day of reckoning. But that day of reckoning is going to come, and now we have a lot more to reckon with because of what Ben Bernanke has done, because of these reckless policies. Everything that Time magazine wrote, about all the things that he did, those are all the terrible things he did. But Time magazine hasn't figured this out. And remember, I was on Fox News this morning debating a reporter from the Wall Street Journal, who's defending Time magazine's choice. All the people who are praising Ben Bernanke, these are the same people who were praising Alan Greenspan when he was the maestro, when he was so great. I was there criticizing Alan Greenspan. My opponent, in this little debate for the Wall Street Journal said I was just criticizing Bernanke because it was good politics, as I was running for Senate. Believe me, I was criticizing Ben Bernanke long before I threw my hat in the Senate ring. And of course, I was criticizing his predecessor, Alan Greenspan, when he was making the same mistakes that Ben Bernanke made. What we have to stop doing is honoring people who simply postpone the pain. We have to stop trading short-term gain for long-term pain. We have to start thinking about the long-term health of our economy and not what's politically expedient. We can't reward Ben Bernanke for taking the easy way out. What I would have liked to have seen is Ben Bernanke stand up to Congress, stand up for sound money, had the courage to maintain higher interest rates in the face of a recession and force fiscal responsibility on those spendthrifts in Washington by refusing to monetize their debt and to having allowed Wall Street and creditors to bear the full brunt of their foolish investments and their reckless lending by letting them lose money. Now you have guys like President Obama, talking about the Wall Street fat cats. Why are they so fat? Who fattened them up? It was the president, and it was Ben Bernanke. Maybe Ben Bernanke is Goldman Sachs' man of the year. Maybe he's a Citigroup or Morgan Stanley or any of these firms. He's their man of the year because he's the one that put all these bonus checks in their Christmas stockings. If Ben Bernanke was Main Street's man of the year, if he was the country's man of the year, there'd be pink slips in those stockings. There'd be lumps of coal in those stockings. It wouldn't be such a Merry Christmas on Wall Street had Ben Bernanke done his job and maybe merited a man of the year. Now, I wonder when this real recession or depression finally unfolds, I wonder if the guys at Time Magazine are going to be able to connect the dots and realize it's their man of the year who's responsible for it all. It's his bold actions that boldly led us into an even worse depression than the one our grandparents experienced. They talk about Ben Bernanke as a student of the Great Depression. Well, he might be a student, but if he was my student, he'd get an F because he doesn't understand the Great Depression and he is repeating all the mistakes and exactly what he thinks the Fed did wrong is the only thing the Fed did right. And so if Ben Bernanke was in charge of the Federal Reserve in the 1930s, the Great Depression would have been a whole lot worse than it was. And we're about to find out, unfortunately, just how bad things can get when you have a Fed chairman like Ben Bernanke who is blasting trillions of dollars into the economy, bailing out everybody, buying up toxic assets, doing exactly what Time Magazine is honoring him for. That's what we're going to suffer for. Anyway, that's it for today. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.